Ever feel like, you're kind of stuck in your ways, like those beliefs you formed years ago maybe need a little refresh? Well, you're in the right spot because today we're diving deep into questioning our beliefs. All thanks to this insightful piece you sent over. It's not about ditching everything you think you know right, but becoming a more flexible thinker, which honestly is like a superpower these days.
And this piece, it jumps right in with a powerful concept, curiosity.
Okay, sure, we've all heard be more curious, but what does that even mean practically? Like, it's easy to say, but doing it.
This piece had a cool analogy, approaching new info like a detective, not a judge.
Oh, I like that. Instead of instantly right or wrong, it's more like gathering clues, asking questions.
That's it. We're trying to understand the whole picture, not just back up what we already think.
Which, speaking of, the piece mentions confirmation bias. For anyone new to that term, it's our brain's way of favoring info that already agrees with us.
It's like you see what you want to see, right?
Oh.
Our brains crave patterns and order, even if it means ignoring stuff that challenges our view.
And that's tricky because if we're always surrounded by stuff that says we're right, are we really growing? Challenging ourselves? It's like an echo chamber, especially with how personalized social media is these days.
Totally. Those algorithms, they're made to keep us scrolling. So often that means showing us more of the same stuff we already agree with, even if we don't realize it.
So how do we escape that? Asking for a friend who may or may not spend a tad too much time online.
Well, first, we got to admit those algorithms are kind of working against us. Like more likes doesn't equal more learning, right?
It's a choice then to seek out different stuff, even if it challenges what we think. Which, speaking of, the piece had some really good tips for doing that.
Yeah, like branching out what you read and who you follow online.
Oh, I like that, branching out. So instead of the same old news sites or, those influencers everyone follows, try finding voices from different backgrounds, cultures, whatever grabs your interest.
Totally. And honestly, don't be afraid of viewpoints that make you a little uncomfortable. Doesn't mean you gotta agree, but seeing where they're coming from, it just opens your mind up, you know?
Totally. It's way too easy to just shut something down if it goes against what you think, but
Yeah.
there's always something to learn from a different angle. Now, this next bit might sound kind of heavy, but the source, it really stresses self-reflection as part of this whole thing.
Yeah, but they make it less scary, more like just checking in with yourself regularly.
Which, thank goodness, because self-reflection makes me think, I gotta go sit on a mountain for a week.
Right, haha. It's not some big mystical thing. Even just a few minutes a day thinking about what you think, what you believe.
So how do we do that? Like, what questions should we even ask ourselves?
The piece said, think about a time you changed your mind on something recently. What made you shift? Was it new info? A different
Well,
experience?
that's good. It's like those aha moments where you're like, huh, guess I had that one wrong.
Exactly. It reminds me of, way back when astronomers thought everything revolved around Earth. Talk about a mind shift.
Huge. And speaking of, the source talks about how being wrong is actually like part of growing.
Yes. We got to chill out about wrongness. Not a failure, just a chance to update what we know, right?
Makes me think of that term, cognitive dissonance.
Mm.
Like that icky feeling when you're holding on to two beliefs that clash.
It's your brain being like, this doesn't add up. And being open to changing our minds, it actually makes that feeling better.
Because we're not trying to force two opposite things to both be true. More room to, evolve our thinking.
And here's where the piece gets even cooler. It ties this back to our values.
Right, that values is a compass thing.
Bingo. Questioning what you believe doesn't mean tossing out your morals. If anything, your values, those are the guideposts when you're dealing with new info or when you're questioning your own ideas.
So less about ditching your whole belief system, more about making sure it actually lines up with what really matters to you.
And sometimes, yeah, that means letting go of stuff you've believed for a long time, even if it's hard.
Perfect segue to the last big point from the piece, respecting someone's opinion. It's not the same as agreeing with it.
Yeah, it's like different views can exist at the same time without making your own experience less valid.
And going into those conversations, curious, not spoiling for a fight.
Yeah, which, let's be real, can be tough these days, especially online.
For sure. But before we get into how to handle those tough talks, we wanted to leave you with this thought. We've been diving deep into this whole questioning your beliefs thing. And maybe you're thinking, okay, sounds good, but how do I actually use this?
Yeah, and one thing that really stuck with me from this piece was like, instead of seeing these conversations as arguments to win, what if they were chances to learn something?
Because so often we go in, ready to fight for our side. not really listen to the other person.
Exactly. And that's where, like I was saying, curiosity is so powerful. What if, instead of jumping in to defend your side, you start by actually wanting to get where they're coming from?
So even if you disagree, you're at least coming from a place of, okay, teach me something, instead of just, you're wrong.
And who knows? Maybe you find some common ground or you see the whole issue in a new light.
So like remembering everyone's coming from their own experiences, their own point of view, right?
And those different views, that's how we grow, that's how new ideas happen.
So as you keep questioning, as you have these conversations that make you think, remember, it's not always about being right or winning every argument.
It's about always being open to learning more, growing,
Mm.
becoming the kind of person who can roll with whatever comes their way.
That's a great point to wrap up on. Hopefully this deep dive gave you some good tools, some new ways to think about all this.
Absolutely. It's a journey, right? But a good one.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And as always, thanks for joining us for the deep dive.